It's like a singer who studies opera, thinking that if I can practice opera, there's really no music I can't sing. Same idea. If we can work with the little guys that are dealing with the real shit day in and day out, if we can deal with those, and there's a real big challenge getting mindset to shift into the new way of running a business in construction specifically. And it's because of the way that technology has been presented. It's really scary. It's moving too fast. All the stuff that we know, and this, that, and the other, and we get it for sure. So what we want to do is we want to understand and accommodate the way that they run their business with technology that is user friendly and helpful, so that they don't feel like too much is changing too fast, but they're seeing the results that they need to that help them grow, scale, and operate.
Welcome, everybody. Sorry, just laughing off air. It's David Chinelli here with episode 79 of the DC Talks podcast with your host, David Chinelli. Go figure, right?
I would hope.
Well, yeah, you'd hope so, right? DC Talks with Nick. Oh, Nick, you might want to not hit your audio there.
Yeah.
Buddy. So we have, again, episode 79. We have an amazing show today. At least I hope it's amazing. You got to bring the thunder.
I'll do my best.
Yeah, I got to bring the thunder. I got my good friend here, Nick Bartella. He's got 2 company names. We'll get into it, but I'll give you a little bit of background how Nick and I met. So Nick is a friend, is friends with some of my cousins. We were getting together doing just some bonding. Owen and I talked about this before, how it's very important for men to get together with other men, and not in a sexual way. Don't think that. If you guys do that, that's not what we're doing. That's not us. We're not judging. There's anything wrong with that.
Anything wrong with that, because we're a Seinfeld.
Yeah, there you go. No, but we get together and we talk, and we talk business. We talk about feelings. We talk about life. Sometimes there's tears. Sometimes I was there when you guys knew about my brain surgery. All that kind of stuff would happen. So I love you guys, and I really appreciate, the aspects you guys bring to the house. It's different when you're talking with your wife and your kids, and so sometimes you just need to get together with other guys and just say, "Hey, am I crazy about this kind of stuff?" So that's how Nick and I met. You were friends with my cousins. They brought you into the group, and it's been love at first sight.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Right back at you.
So Nick has him and his partner who's out in, where is he?
Right now, I believe he's in Capri, Italy. Enjoying a nice, I would imagine.
I know, right? What a lucky bastard,
yeah, he sent a nice photo, mountainside, having a coffee with his laptop open.
Is his fiance with him too?
Yeah, no, but they're working.
Oh yeah, sure they're working. They're working on a baby is what they're working on.
Hey, listen, man, sometimes that's work too. But yeah, so he can't make it today. I'm gonna do my best to act as both parts of the big picture.
Yeah. And Nick and I got into some serious conversations about God recently and the Bible.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're still reading.
I am.
Good. Sorry, boys. I'm not pushing that on people, but Nick and I had a conversation. We were talking about just stress and things like that. And I thought how God could help you more. And you're like, I'm hoping that's helping.
It's definitely opening up the thought process on the why and the what we're doing it for and why we're doing it and how we're doing it.
Yeah.
So I
kind of feel sad for people that don't have the higher power to believe into God. It's just, I do, because, I've had the conversation, like, when you're feeling overwhelmed, who do you talk to? Like, what do you do? Like, because there's only so much we can handle in this world. And, like, I love giving the burden to God and saying, hey, help, here you go.
Please. Yeah. But it goes back to what you were saying, Dave. I mean, those outlets, even being able to have guys like you around that, I get it. I understand it. Here's an example of how I had to go through it. I think it's something that's extremely undervalued in today's society. Being able to have that group, have those people, have that faith into something that it's not always bad news. It's not always as hard as it can get. The negative in this world right now, it's very easy to hop on the negative bandwagon, but to find and keep those outlets of positivity, of, I want to do something, be something bigger, better, more than just, all the negative stuff. I think
if you start down the road of the negativity, it's hard to climb out of it.
Slippery slope.
Oh man. Yeah. It starts taking over everything. And then everything starts, it all depends on how you look at the world, and it starts from when you wake up. If you start to see things negative, then everything becomes negative.
Yeah.
I had the coach, his name is Rob Vivian, and like I still do. I'm not no longer a student, but he still calls us every morning these messages. And at the end of his message, he gives us a pause, like he has a quote, and it's always about some sort of positivity, right? And at the end of it, he's always like, "Say with me." And it's like, and everyone's like, what are people saying? And like, it's something awesome is going to happen today. And we have to repeat it 3 times. And if you repeat it out loud, he's like, well, why do you do that? And we do this because it trains your mind to look for awesome things.
Correct.
So if you do that first thing in the morning, you're like, something awesome is going to happen. And I'm like, if you're at the end of the day, I'm like, well, what awesome happened? Like, then you start to look. Your brain is trained to start to look for things that you talk about. So Owen and I were talking about this off air. Reticular activating system. That's what Owen just said. That's what it's called. Reticular system. So, that's a mouthful. Yeah.
Well done, Owen.
Well done, Owen. But the reason why I wake up every morning, and I've said to you before, and Owen and I talked about this, like I thank God. The first thing in the morning I do is I pray and I say, thank God that I'm alive.
Mm-hmm.
And you're very appreciative, and you go through your thankfulness, what you're grateful for, because now it sets your mind every single morning of what's positive in your life, and they look for other positive things, and that's what your mind does, right? And unfortunately, I was telling Owen this morning, we found out this morning that a friend of ours, 46 years old, passed away yesterday, and my friend our friend Steve was trying to resuscitate him. Unfortunately, he was gone. But 46 years old, you're gone like this.
Wow, I'm
so
sorry to hear that.
What that does is it reinforces every day that you never know. And there was nothing wrong. He just, again, gone, right? We don't know what happened. There was no health issues. So my point is that you're very valuable in my life. You guys are very on and off air. Brian, I haven't met you too long and long enough, but you're valuable. Then I appreciate you. But we're saying every day to give gratitude. So thank you for coming today to share. And I want to promote your business because I think your business is amazing. I think you're amazing. And I want to be able to showcase what the things you can do for people, because there's people struggling in their business and they don't even know where to turn. And they think that all that they have out there is what's on the market, on the shelf. And that's all the help. And I'm like, so you bring a totally different aspect to business, which I love. And you've helped so many people. And I love the fact that you've done this already. And I've seen it turn around in such a short amount of time with my cousins and other people I've worked with. Chef's kiss. I love it. So by getting into that, how can you help people? Like, what are your 2 businesses? And try to just give like a quick overview of what you do, and let's go.
Okay, so we'll start with the first one, the Advisor Guide, or TAG for short. It's a family office is the business structure. The concept is simple. Financial service is a broken model, regardless of the discipline. The reason it is that way is because you have the consumer looking for a solution without understanding the education behind the solution. What ends up happening is they hurt themselves. So what TAG was designed to achieve was giving clients a holistic picture of the steps they need to take to achieve an outcome. I want to own my first home. Okay, but why? I want to start a business. Okay, but why? I want to be able to provide this to my children. Okay, but why? These questions, there's a lot of questions that are typically not answered in that process. What ends up happening is they go through a product qualification. It comes down to making money. Now, am I standing here or sitting here suggesting that I do not like making money? Absolutely not. On the contrary. What I propose in turn, though, is that there's a way to make money that is equitable for everybody involved, including consumers. And what TAG was built to do was even the playing ground, more importantly, give them a process to follow so they can actually achieve the outcome of life financially they desire to achieve, whether it's personally or from a business standpoint. This is what we focus on. Then there's Revalate. Revalate was built focusing on the construction industry. My partners and I, our entire family, that's all we know. That's what we do. That is who we are. But what we understood early on in life and through the development of other businesses and ventures that we've been a part of, realized that nobody's ever been given a blueprint to how to run a business in construction. Everybody's been given a hammer or saw or a get up and go attitude. But now the infrastructure, the operational efficiency, the systems and tools, all of the real mechanics that happen to make sure that you don't have to suffer every time you go to work has never really been brought to an industry like construction. And then the biggest challenge we find is you have a huge gap in success. You're either small and you've convinced yourself that it's okay to stay small because of how difficult it is to become big. So I'm okay with this. Then you have mid-level guys that are dying to be as big as they can be, but refuse to accept the fact that they can't do everything themselves. And then you have the big guys that have become stuck in their ways because they did it. I've hit the mountain, but forgot that now you have to get down.
What do you mean by that? Get down?
It's one thing to climb the mountain. It's another thing to get down safely.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. In that kind of sense, if you climb up that, so you're saying to stay at the top or to be able to climb or to exit the business?
Nobody ever stays at the top. And what I mean by that specifically isn't your brand or your business. Obviously, you want that to continue climbing.
Yeah.
But the ownership, the stakeholders, the people that are running the organization, the skills, the talent, they don't stay. We all die.
What?
We all leave. It happens, believe it or not. And what happens with a company that amounts that kind of success is they become complacent to the existing environment, meaning I have skills, tools that will be with us forever because times are good right now. The problem with that mindset is people find different opportunities or leave or get hurt, get sick, have different changes in life, whatever it happens to be. But now you built your entire business or a division or a way of doing things around a single person or a few people. And all of a sudden now you have to change everything you do, the way that you do it in an instant. And everything that's happening in that moment has to fluctuate with that ability to change. The practicality of what I'm saying is not practical at all.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
And these are the things that Revalate focuses on. We'll go in to simplify Revalate. We focus our attention on systems and tools. Right now, this industry is
it digital systems and tools,
absolutely.
or is it actual physical, like even like doing checklists, physical, like things like that?
We do both. So to your point, the manual stuff is the easy stuff because it already exists. So what we want to do is remove the work that is not adding value to the top, middle, and bottom line, and automate it with the systems that are available that are more economical to use rather than having to do it manually. The world is shifting on a weekly, daily basis. It's no longer like it used to be where, every 6 months somebody came up with a cool new idea. Every day somebody's coming up with a cool new idea that can be used in your business to change the way you do business and save you operational money. We're talking big money. You pay a salary, it's $50,000, $70,000, $80,000. That person, you want them to perform in that function.
Absolutely.
But I love the analogy of you can give them a screwdriver or you can give them a power tool. They got to turn a screw. Your choice. Do you want them to be able to do it in 30 seconds or in 3 hours? Our job is to show you how to do everything in 30 seconds rather than 3 hours with all the systems that you have, and to be able to turn your technological infrastructure into something affordable, because the market is extremely saturated with a lot of really cool tech, but it is not an inexpensive proposition to plug in a project management tool or an estimation tool or a job costing tool when you're spending $1,000 a month plus licensing fees, and you got to take 3 months to learn how to use this thing, and then you're not using this thing because it just took me 3 months to learn it, and I still got to go find work and do the work and take care of my guys, and all this stuff is happening, and I got the software company reminding me that I got to do my course, and I'm telling this guy, please call me back next week because I'm in the middle of something. So everything that needs to happen doesn't typically happen. So what we'll do is we'll go in, understand the best parts of the systems these companies need, want to use, and also have the know-how to use, because what a lot of software companies and tech companies aren't factoring in the way that they position their product is the learning curve. Construction are full of a lot of extremely intellectual people. They know how to make money. But now to expect them to get into the software development world and learn it overnight and then apply it to their business and then refine it, the practicality again isn't.
Well, it's not even that. I would say like, so they've done it for so long in a certain way. Why do I need this?
Correct.
So yeah, you have to come up with saying, well, now I have to learn a whole new skill set. Am I actually going to use this? Why can't I just do this? Well, I remember something simple, like even with my mom. Like, so my mom still does bookkeeping for the businesses and stuff too. Like, I've been trying to get her on Excel. Even Excel, just easier.
It's a great example.
It's a great example. She won't. She still does everything by hand. And I'm saying like, but you type in front of a computer all day. Like Excel, and not even saying the new software, where you can get your receipts and scan everything, and it just puts it into an Excel form.
Yeah.
I even told her about that, but I've been telling her for 20 years now to put this in, and she just won't do it because it's like, well, it's faster for you to do this way. I'm like, and she always screws up, and it takes much longer because she won't learn 10 minutes how to like sit there to actually use equations, and they're simple equations I could teach her. I'm like, you don't need to learn everything. All you need to learn how to do is at the bottom of the cell, press equals, but over here, put sum in front, and then do that. That's all. As long as you put everything else in there, we can figure this out. I can set it up for you. It just won't do it.
And I get it.
But I don't, because at the end of the day, what has taken her a day to do, she can do in 10 minutes.
Right. But as you can appreciate, you've spent so long to learn something and you've become comfortable with it.
Of course.
Right? That now you identify with the skill that you have and are comfortable or confident now that I have this skill to do it in this particular way. I'm confident.
But Nick, at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is say, give the one resource we don't have enough. Time.
Correct. And money. Don't forget that
money
one.
too, but fuck money at the end of the day. If you don't have time,
it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter, right? So I'm literally giving you a day back in your life just by learning. Will you spend an hour, spend 5 hours? Would you even spend a day to give yourself a day a month back? And it won't even take you a day, 6 hours, 7 hours, whatever.
Realistically, yeah.
Realistic. Let's be honest here. Right?
And so now to add on top of that, Dave, because you're right, the common sense factor here is really pretty straightforward. But still, humans are an interesting.
That's a good word for it.
Yeah.
Species.
Very interesting species in the way that they think and go about their day to day. And we've learned in Revalate that the learning curve, for those who are familiar with change management, change is a scary proposition, regardless of how open-minded you are. So what we do instead is say, do not change. We will build the tech for the way you operate so that it's easy to use and most importantly, affordable, giving you the outcome that you need, because unfortunately, you will not survive or maintain competitive edge without a tool that keeps you ahead of your competition. If they are paying $1 and getting $3, and you're paying $3 to get $3.10 because you refuse to optimize your internal mechanisms, it doesn't matter how great you are. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing this.
So a typical company. So first of all, who's your typical client? Is it all different sizes, or is there some specific clients that you've noticed have worked better for you than others?
We've capped our client size based on culture. So we'll work with the small guy that we'll call it startup level. You know, he's pretty well paying himself a salary, and he's maybe got a couple guys and gals on their crew helping them do the stuff. Then we'll work small level, so they're doing about $1.5 million, $2 million in revenue. Then your mid-level guys that are doing, $3.5 million to about $15 million in revenue. They have staff of 10 to about 30, 40. Then we'll work with the upper mid, which will be 150, 200 employees, doing about 75 million in revenue. We also we're servicing North America wide. And the U.S. is a very different market when we talk about construction.
So you have different, and the way you approach them is all different, I'm assuming, right? Or is
it's actually the same, and that's why we kept under these particular parameters, because we know that an organization structure at a particular size will have the same variables at certain levels. When you start doing, they're doing in the hundreds of millions of dollars. in revenue, and they have divisions in their global entities or international entities, the dynamics are substantially different, and more importantly, the mindset is different. So at this stage of Revalate's development, we wanted to focus on understanding the nitty gritties of the little guy, because if we can, it's like a singer who studies opera, thinking that if I can practice opera, there's really no music I can't sing. Same idea. If we can work with the little guys that are dealing with the real shit day in and day out. Sorry if you're swearing there.
You heard me drop F-bombs left and right, so
okay,
don't worry about it.
My kind of podcast. If we can deal with those and show them, because they're the ones that, back to change management, that there's a real tough, a real big challenge getting mindset to shift into the new way of running a business in construction specifically. And it's because of the way that technology has been presented. It's really scary. It's moving too fast, all the stuff that we know, and this, that, and the other. And we get it for sure. So what we want to do is we want to understand and accommodate the way that they run their business with technology that is user-friendly and helpful, so that they don't feel like too much is changing too fast, but they're seeing the results that they need to, that help them grow, scale, and operate.
So what's the process? So say a company, they say like, okay, Nick, I've seen what you've done. I've heard your pitch.
Mm-hmm.
What's the process? How do we start this? Like, and how do you, like, where do they start and how does it start?
Great. So our diagnostic starts everything to help us understand, one, your organizational structure, regardless of your size. Who works for you? What are their roles? What are their functions? And what are the tools that they use to do the job you've hired them to do? Mm-hmm. Once we understand that, then we start diving into what are the problems you have with the tools you've been given. Mm-hmm. Then we ask a third simple question: how do you want these tools to work? Then we give you the solution, and then it's up to you.
Now, the solution is be something you were saying before. It could be off the shelf. It could be ad hoc. You can create yourself, right? That's what you're saying.
Exactly right. The sky is the limit.
Right. Do you find that there's pushback that some people don't even realize they have a problem?
I think the biggest pushback, Dave, is not so much they don't realize they have a problem. I think they're scared they are the problem and don't want to, like, oh, this is, I don't want to, because if I start digging into the dirty laundry, something might pop up that I did a really good job
hiding.
Right. Yeah. So let's, this isn't for us kind of a thing.
Right.
And we remind people in this, especially in the diagnostic process, our job is not to point out the things that you're doing wrong. Our job is to point out the things that you're doing well and understand what you want to keep doing well and what you don't want to do anymore.
Yeah.
Because we bring in technology to reinforce the fact that people are needed, but you got to give them the power tool to help them be as great as they can be in that function. But if you expect them to be generating kind of revenue for your company, helping you grow your company without giving the resources and the tools to do it, most importantly, understanding what they are good at and what they are not good at, and structuring a solution that accommodates that, then you're always going to run into those issues, those bottlenecks, those problems.
Right.
And then it becomes a company culture issue. And then we bring in a coach like Jonathan, where it's now, I'm going to work with the people. Because that's
so you say that's my cousin Jonathan. I don't know if you we're trying to get him on the podcast as well. Same last name, Jonathan Chinelli.
I don't know what you're waiting for.
What?
I don't know what you're waiting for, Jonathan.
No, it's not me.
No, I'm not speaking to Jonathan.
Oh, he's talking to Jonathan. Yeah, I'm like, so every time he's always has a conflict, and it's like I guess he doesn't like me there. I don't know. Nick, I don't know. What do you think?
I'll ask.
Yeah, but no. So yeah, and Jonathan does that too. Like, and we talked about this in the golf course. So Nick and I were playing. I was like, so we're trying to figure out what you're explaining what Jonathan does, and he goes into a company and he basically, tries to change culture a little bit, tries to figure.
He's doing what I do, but with the people,
right?
Which are your greatest asset and resource as a company owner, creator. It's if as an entrepreneur, as the leader of your company, you need to actively work on your vision for the company that you've built and want to build. There are a lot of moving parts that will weigh you down on a regular basis, including all of the roles and responsibilities you have to understand and find people to take responsibility of. Now, we talk about this a lot. The misaligned expectation is the biggest problem in business culture, because I am bringing you, your resume says you have A, B, C skill. Great. But realistically speaking, you really only like to do A, you hate B, and sometimes you're okay with C.
Yeah.
But you're not going to put that on your resume. So my expectation is you're a killer in these three areas. I'm going to hire you to do all three. Your expectation is hopefully he only focuses on A and doesn't really talk to me about B and sometimes C.
Yeah.
Right? So the what Jonathan will do is look at both sides.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want them to do? This is what I need them to do. Okay. Now he'll go to the employee and say, well, what do you think you do here? What do you want to do here? How far off are those expectations? How do we get them back over here? So now the company can grow, the culture can prosper, the systems can align, and everybody feels like they're part of a company that is not just out to make money and turn people over. And, you know, it's to really inspire a company culture that works in harmony and goes after it together, because everybody knows why they're there. They know the systems and tech that they're going to use. They know the people they have to report to. Nobody's stepping on each other. Everybody's working together because, hey, I don't have to do your job. We already talked about this. Expectations are where they're supposed to be. Thank you very much.
Okay, now talk to me about a failure that you've had in the business, because this all sounds great, but I'll be honest, there's got to be something. And that's, we talked about last pod about failure, how it actually grows and builds your business. Talk to me about one of your worst failures happen with the business, and how did you guys rebound from that? Because listen, I like
it's great. It's a great question. So
I'm usually full of good questions.
It's a mindset shift between upper management. So here's the thing about bringing a vision to life. You need solid management that gets it, that agrees with it. And then you have to understand their ability to help you execute, because everybody has a unique skill set. Now, what happens a lot of times is I'm going to hire you because you're a great person, you're my buddy, you have this skill set, and maybe, hopefully, you have a couple other skill sets I need you to have. There's a lot of reasons why people stay in the upper level position that they don't belong in. So what happens is, back to misaligned expectation. I need you guys and gals to do this. Yeah, well, that's not what you're paying me for. So we have a breakdown in communication. And now the systems, and we're not talking about tech now, we're talking about organizational systems, the processes that drive productivity become friction points. Mm-hmm. It's now, you're supposed to do this, not me. Well, no, that's not what I do. I do this. You're supposed to do that. Well, what do you mean? They told me that you're supposed to do this. Well, that's not what they told me. So now what happens is the ripple effect, the tidal wave of inefficiency. It's now, look, guys, I'm so busy with, so I'll give you a particular instance.
Yeah, we want to hear a failure, a real life failure.
I'm going to give you
how you fucked up.
So I'm going to give you the instance. This is the instance. Company growing rapidly, no systems in place. Everything is coming from the CEO's mind, and he's still trying to figure out how to make it all work. And in his company, he has some really close people that are managers that step into a position without knowing what they're stepping into and take the reins. Mm-hmm. And systems went kaput. It became a conversation of ego. It became a conversation of years of experience rather than practicality and systems. And the infrastructure that was being built crumbled as fast as it was being built, because leadership said, I have to now focus on scale and growth and can't focus on this division, which was the first division of the company, I need to now outsource it to management. They need to help me keep this thing going, and they didn't have the capacity or skill to do so, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, I can see why. It just seems like, yeah, like without a strong, I guess, with the strong management, that's your spine of the business, right? That's
Yeah.
the business. So if you don't have that, that's where everything. That's why I like the body. If you don't have a good spine, it's gonna fall apart, right?
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Really
Am I wrong
quickly.
with that?
No.
So and moving forward, so how does that help you moving forward? Now that you've had this failure, you've crumbled with all of these with this manager. Were you guys fired? I think that was
What we did was we said, look, we've built what we needed to build for you. You guys take it. Let's end the contract here, and let's part, amicably, rather than having to start really getting frustrated with each other. And we just did that. I think it was the smartest way.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
We learned substantially from that experience, or from those experiences, because what it showed us was, rather than focusing as heavily on helping with the entire ecosystem of their business,
Yep.
we focus on the software and automation, and we will bring in partners that spend their time there. The benefit to us, as well as to the company, is now we don't have to mix flavors. It's our job is to focus on this particular thing. You want somebody that needs to help you build culture. You want somebody that's going to help you build your sales department. You want something to do this, whatever it happens to be. We'll bring you the vendor that can help you do that. But now they understand that they are separate parts that need individual attention. It's not mixing everything in a bowl and hope it tastes good. It's dedicated time and effort to every pillar of that organizational life, so that as a whole it can stand strong forever.
Right. So when it comes to the tech, who builds the tech for you?
So we do it internally.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so is it actually you building tech? Is it you behind a computer? Like, I was going to say, okay.
I'll tell you that much. I'm fairly proficient in a high level capacity, but if we're talking about
Augustino on the back end, just in Italy, like
he's the puppet master that controls the code, we'll call it. But we also understand that, so depending on what we're doing, if we're working with an existing piece of tech that and implementing it for an organization and then automating some of the back end, that's fairly straightforward. Our in-house team will take care of that. If we're bringing in a low-code solution, our in-house team will take care of that. If we're doing a full-code solution, we have partners that'll support our internal team, and then we'll build it together for the company.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
If you like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. The cool thing about it, I think, is if your imagination can think it, in today's world of technology, it's possible.
Where do you see Revalate going?
North America's answer to software and automation for construction.
So all levels. Would you think you would actually do something like a QuickBooks situation where it could be a plug and play, but if you really want to dig in a little bit more, like some sort of automated solutions where you can actually put it on a Office Depot home shelf and say, here you go, here's a solution if you just want this, and roll it out?
We are presently in talks of a particular solution that helps work out the red flags and kinks. Is that
I'm not as dumb as I look?
Definitely not. Not that you look dumb, but
yeah, you caught that.
No, it's definitely something that
I can see that because
the
reason why I'm asking, I think, because everyone has a solution, but back in the day, like everyone could have done, like always had to an accountant, they kind of set everything up, and now you have something like a QuickBooks, like, oh, okay, I can almost do a lot of the accounting myself. It's kind of over here. You always want an accountant to look over it, but it's like you pay an account, but now you can kind of manage your business. That's what we're doing with FreshBooks or QuickBooks or something like that too. And that's why I was thinking like this kind of solutions. If there's something that would just be like, we can use this for a small, but Maybe you do this, and then you call up the company and say, hey, Revalate, we bought this box, but we want you to do this. Can we tweak this? Sure, this will cost you X amount, and like you have the basic package, but now we can tailor, instead of us opening up something brand new, we already have like the basic package. We can add this and this. Now it's like a what's it called? It's like a CMA kind of thing. Like a CMA,
I understand what you're
but you have like different modules
Yeah.
of which you can add into things. Say like if you have like when I was doing treasury, we had something like that too. Like, oh, if you wanted this module, you can pay things out. But if you don't have direct payments like at EFTs, you don't need this module. You can use this module over here. If you're doing like, and then just to track money. Like if you didn't want to have an ASP system or sorry, an APS system, you can have it hosted internally. Just those kinds of situations I think would be beneficial. Like for somebody, the average person's like, they think they may not need you. And then they realize like, holy shit, these guys are pretty good. I'm like, and then that's where the longer term standing, because then you can use something as a baseline to build out.
Absolutely. I mean, realistically, and that's that to your point, that's why we haven't packaged it out. Reason being is I don't know what I don't know. So show me what I need to know. And that's what we'll do. That's where the diagnostics start, why the diagnostic starts everything off, because what it helps us understand is what they know and what they don't, and then show them from based on priority in relation to profit and turning over revenue. These are the problems that we would recommend adjusting so that you can get back to making money. And then we'll worry about the odds and ends that might be the pain in the ass you think are the pain in the ass, but they're not the ones costing you the most money. Let's focus here because this is what's driving down productivity.
So in a diagnostic test, for example, like when you go in to take a look what the company is doing and what they actually need, how long would something like that take? And before you give them any solutions?
Depending on the size of the company, and that's what it is. So it's anywhere from 2 weeks to a month.
Okay, that's not terrible.
No.
And are you following around all day? Like when
Nope.
when I was in treasury, we always had these guys coming around and were like, "Oh, we're just sitting here auditing what you do," and I'm like, "Great." And they would see what we would do for like a little while. Some of them would be longer than a month.
No, it essentially, because everything is digital. We'll either hop on a video call with key people that are running the particular departments or divisions to understand the systems that they're using and the complications that they and their team are having, so that when we do our internal audit of that particular system, we can understand why, and then bring back to them a solution that either says, this is the reason, we're going to clean it up so that the way you're using it, you don't have to use it that way anymore, or this is the problem, the software. And the reason it's not working the way that you want it to work is because that software doesn't do that. But here are some options that will do exactly what you want to do, and then we implement for you.
That's pretty cool. Believe it or not, we have to wrap up.
Awesome. That's great. That was fast. Holy smokes, where to go?
Well, see, when you start talking about your business, I love this. Like I like bringing entrepreneurs on the show because you can see the passion that comes behind them, and you're trying to fit in solutions which aren't cookie cutter. And that's what I love about entrepreneurs, because you saw a problem in the market and you tried to solve it. And again, it's an ongoing, like living, breathing entity that changes with time. And it's always good to get to grassroots and saying what kind of struggles you see along the way. And most people don't know that you had a lot of pushback from family too when you were starting this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What was that before? Let's not wrap up. Let's talk. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Fire away.
So my family came a little bit different than your family. We talked about, like, my dad was yelling at me like, why the fuck are you not an entrepreneur? Your family had a different approach.
It was the, maybe get a job, become an accountant, that kind of a thing, you know what? And they all came from that mentality. 9 to 5 is safe. Make a paycheck, budget out your stuff, live modestly. Everything will be fine.
You know what I love? You ever see, I think we talked before, you ever see Jim Carrey's one of his speeches he talked, and he said about doing what you love to do. And he said, my dad hated being an accountant. That's why I'm bringing this up, because you brought the word accountant up. And he did it for like 30 years. And he goes, and he got fired for something he didn't love to do. And he couldn't do anything else. And he goes, he did this for most of his life, but he thought it was safe. And he still got fired, technically failed, because he was trying to do the safe thing. He was like, he told us never to do that. And I would say that would be my parting words as somebody else. And I want to get your words of advice, somebody moving forward, whether it wants to be in this kind of space or an entrepreneur. But I will part with these words and let you finish off on it. But my parting words I've said to my kids, I've said to my audience, don't do a job just because it makes you money.
It's a big one. It's a tough one.
Don't do something just because you feel you have to do something. You want to get into a career. listen, God will tell you what you excel at.
Mhm.
He will. And if you're good at it, you're not going to always love what you do. But sometimes if you find out what you're good at, then all of a sudden you really start to like it after a while.
And funny enough,
Believe it
money
or not,
starts to find you.
Believe it or not, I didn't really like being a goalie in the beginning. I wanted to be a player. I kind of liked hockey. It was like, and eventually by the time I was like 12 or 13, then I started getting good at it. Then I loved it. But when I was kind of struggling through, they're like, why the fuck am I doing this? I'm getting hurt. I'm getting hit in the knee. And I'm like, what? And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I was doing better than the other. And then when I really started to excel at it, I loved it at that point. And that's what I'm saying to other people, like, figure out what you're good at and stuff. You don't just do it for the money. Right. But there's some, like, I know it's kind of like, it's not saying the opposite side, talking the opposite side.
Yeah.
Don't do something for the money. Right. But find out what you're good at, hone on the skill, and then the money will follow is what I'm trying to say. Okay. What would your parting words of advice
I would
be?
say it's find somebody you look up to, figure out what they did, and then practice. For me, and I bring this from experience, you know, I knew, and I look back at this now, I knew early on in life that I was creative. I knew early on that I couldn't do the same thing. I can't sit still. I can't just wake up in the morning, hit the alarm clock. It just wasn't for me. And to be force-fed that structure, because this is the way that it has to be. I feel there's a lot of people that are force-fed into this is the way that it has to be. One thing I'm teaching my children is it's what you want it to be, so long as you have a plan of attack and you're willing to practice. Everything else is up to you. And that's been the biggest benefit in my life. It's finding mentors and people that I look to and say, you know what? Maybe I wouldn't do everything they did, but there's a lot about what they represent, a lot about what they try to do and aspire to be that I resonate and identify with. And I think that it's a great example to practice life too. So that along that journey of practice, you start to really pick up, back to your point, what I'm good at. Maybe I didn't like this. Maybe it looked like a great idea at the time, but now that I'm practicing it, this ain't for me.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're doing it for yourself instead of listening to the model that the people around you, love them or hate them, they just don't know. And it goes back to comfort with people more times than not. It's easy. I know it's safe. I know that you won't sprain anything or break anything. And I know that you'll be able to pay your bills. So for me, this is the advice I'm going to give you. But as a person taking on the world, trying to make something happen, being more than just something that makes money and goes to sleep, you need to start asking different questions. And the best place to look are for people that you can identify with that are answering some of the questions you would ask in their own way, helping you figure out how you can start doing the same.
Pretty good words of advice. All right, Nick. So with wrapping up, people know where to find me, David Vicinelli _realtor on IG. All of our links are there.
Absolutely.
If somebody wants to find you, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Revalate.com. We're
Spell
on
Revalate in case they don't know.
REVALATE. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube. We'll be on TikTok soon.
Not soon enough. Come on, let's go.
I know.
I want to see you dance.
I'm learning. I don't know how to do that.
The shuffle.
Yeah, I can't do it. But I'm, if it gets me, if it's something that makes people laugh, I'll figure it out. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, guys. Well, thanks again for tuning in. And like Owen always tries to remind me to say when we do these interviews, we always like the fact that you like and subscribe, share with your family and friends, give us comments. You can listen to this anywhere you listen to your podcast, but show us the love because we love seeing that on our end. Have a wonderful day. And it'll be Owen and I next week talking about maybe another controversial topic. We'll see. All right. Ciao for now.
Thanks, guys.